Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. This is it.
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hotbody Dawson. Pow, pow, pow.
I'm Sam Nifty Delaney. So what?
Welcome along. It's the Monday morning episode, and it's genuinely on a Monday morning. This time, apologies to the IFS subscribers who sometimes get it early on a Sunday evening. We just weren't available Sunday evening. I was at Pet Shop Boys gig yet again last night in Manchester. Fucking hell. First of all, I need to give huge thanks to YouTube, Sam, because about 10 months ago they gave us a bit of money to put our podcasts on YouTube, which fair play to them. They thought it was a good idea to give us money to do that. We were happy to take the money, and it doesn't seem that anyone's really interested in watching us on YouTube doing podcasts. But that's it's an experiment, isn't it? And I've realised over the last 10 days that I spent most of that money on pop concert tickets.
Yeah.
Because in the last 9 days, I've been to Girls Aloud 3 times, Taylor Swift, Pet Shop Boys twice, 6 gigs in 4 different cities, and I am now fucked, to be honest. I'm exhausted. It feels like when we go on tour and we do live shows, and then you come back and you've got that weird feeling if you don't really know where you are.
Yeah, you're jet-lagged.
Or why you exist, or what your place in the world is. It feels a bit like that this morning. But there we are.
Yeah.
So thank you, YouTube. I've had a pop odyssey over the last 9-10 days.
And if you want us to carry on living that kind of lifestyle where we go and see bands willy-nilly all over the place, then do us a favour, go on to YouTube, subscribe, like every video we've done on there, and then if you want, never watch it again. It's free. It'll take 5 minutes of your time. If you go on there and just subscribe and like everything, you don't have to watch any of our videos, but we will probably get our contract with them renewed, and then Andy will spend next summer going to see the same bands over and over again as well. And that's,
there's all the episodes are there on a playlist. Just play the playlist and then walk away. Play it in the background. Just put it on, mute your computer, and then hopefully we'll get another little backhander from YouTube.
Especially if you're not a IFS subscriber, if you like to freeload and listen to these and because you don't feel that you want to invest in us, and that's fine. You might be skint and you've got other priorities. That's understandable. You can go onto YouTube for free and do all of this, and you may just end up earning us some money anyway. Think of it that way.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but that
probably true.
So I drive back from Manchester in the early hours of this morning.
Christ!
What can only be described as torrential rain.
Oh no!
Almost 2.5 hours. So that was interesting as well. But great fun, life affirming, Sam.
Yes.
YouTube gave me lemons about 10 months ago, and I've made lemonade out of them. And why not?
Good. I'm glad for you.
And now I revert to the just rest lifestyle right before Euro 2024 begins, which is going to involve a lot of sitting down staring at a TV screen. So
you got the Euros, you got an election. It's a big summer for all of us, a really big summer for all of us. The Euros start on Thursday, don't they?
Friday, I think. Germany versus Scotland, Friday night.
I'm going to 2 gigs this week, one of which will be on Friday, so I will miss the opening game.
Whoa!
But
it's worth it.
I'm going to see Chromeo. I don't know if you're familiar with their oeuvre. They are a Canadian synth pop band.
That sounds right up my fucking Strasser.
Yeah, kind of in the sort of yacht rock tradition, I would say.
Oh, what are they called?
Chromeo. So
Chromeo.
CH.
I found them. I'm on it.
Yeah. I think you'll like them. And we've liked them for many years, and it was one of those albums that the kids, when they were very little, still in the car seats in the back, had to listen to again and again. One of the Chromeo records, I can't remember which one. And it sort of seeped inside of their minds, and now they're into it. So we're all going to that, and on Friday, and missing start of the Euros, but that's all right. And then, but tomorrow night we're all going to see Liam Gallagher do Definitely Maybe at the O2, because the kids, they love Oasis, and this is the only chance they'll have to see something, you know, like Oasis.
Yeah,
and I mean, last year they wanted to go and see Noel, and all due respect to Noel, but it's not as Oasis-y, is it? Let's be honest, as seeing them. So we'll be going to the O2 tomorrow to see that. So yeah, 2 family gigs in 1 week. Probably, thinking about probably some way financed by YouTube also.
Yeah, it's that thing like 9 months ago or so, that little bit of money came in and we just...
went gig crazy.
I certainly went really silly on the tickets, and I regret nothing. Fucking Taylor Swift Friday night in Edinburgh. Mental.
How was that?
Absolutely nuts. I loved it. Not a huge Taylor Swift fan. I think 1989 is a superb pop album.
Yeah.
Love it to bits. Other stuff, lots of great stuff. But I'm not as into 1989, nor were the rest of the crowd on Friday night. 1989 was the stuff that really got everybody jumping around. But just the whole atmosphere, fully young kids, just having the time of their life, Sam. Just dressed up.
I read one review which said it was almost like a spiritual or religious experience.
It's like a cult, to be honest. It's like a cult. One of my friends was there, and she said if Taylor Swift at any point in that gig had pointed to somebody in the crowd and says, "This guy here, we're going to kill him," crowd would have joined in, no questions asked. Yeah. And that guy would have got ripped apart. And that's not necessarily a good thing. But
when I went to Lana Del Rey last summer, I got the same sort of sense that she had kind of... the audience were more like acolytes than fans.
Yeah.
And there was a bit where she kind of came down to the front of the stage at Hyde Park and started reaching out. And it was shown on the big screen. And there was people pushing towards the front to just reach out and touch her hand. And it was genuinely like, if you ever go to St. Peter's Square in Rome and see, because the Pope comes out and does a little bit of a meet and greet on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's like that. People were crying just to touch her fingertips.
Yeah. But there was a bit in Taylor Swift where there was a little girl, about 10-year-old, I think, right at the front. And I think her mum or dad was lifting her up. And Taylor Swift went across to her. And she was wearing a hat. Taylor Swift took her hat off and put her hat on this kid. "There's me hat. You can have me hat. Best of luck with it." And just, it was on the big screens and everything. And I was in tears, Sam.
I don't know why,
but I was in tears at that. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But there is a cult element to it. But I think that's a thing now, which never used to be, and it's to do with the internet. It's online fandom is a thing that we never had, and you don't just see it in pop music, you see it in all pockets of society. You see it in politics, you massively see it in football, where you've got football fans online who will defend to the death certain disgraceful activities that their football club
you see a lot of, have you seen, there's a lot of grown men, Liverpool fans, old enough to be fathers, in their replica shirts, who've written poems or songs about Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that flying about.
Yeah.
And
it's the whole online thing. It's that thing of having a platform to be active on and to be seen. And you know, when you get things like the Flat Earth Society is back in a big way, people think that the Earth's flat again because they've got the internet to reinforce their theories and bolster their theories. Whereas before they were just kind of weirdos that met in the back rooms of pubs and stuff like that. It was low key, but now the internet's just giving everyone a chance to share their madnesses, I guess.
Their madnesses,
it's definite cult stuff. But the Taylor Swift thing, it was mostly young lasses, but the joyous nature of it. Everyone was just so fucking happy and delighted to be there, and it was lovely. It was really good. Unlike, well, I'm not going to say unlike, the Liam Gallagher gig that you go to, I hope it passes off event free. But there is that story that I heard from a few years ago when Liam Gallagher, I think it was when he was in BDI, it might have been, before he went solo, and he played the arena in Newcastle, and basically a lot of men were just using the floor of the arena as an impromptu toilet.
Yeah.
Piss everywhere, and they had to sluice the whole of the arena before Little Mix came the night after.
Sluice.
Sluice
no one
is the
better
word.
piss near me. Luckily, I'm in the seats.
You're in the
I won't
seats.
stand. I won't stand at a gig. I'm too old for that
Right.
now.
I mean, you can wear a nappy.
If anyone
You can take some
pisses
kind of-
near me, they're getting punched in the cock. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
quite right. Quite
No
right.
way. No
Wear
fucking
a
way.
T-shirt that says that. Yeah.
My
Piss cock
mate
puncher.
hates has an irrational hatred of Crystal Palace. Like if you support if you're a London football fan, Palace is not really a club that anyone feels particular sort of like. There's not
Right.
really a big Palace rivalry with anyone. Do you know what I mean? That's why
Palace
they're
have Brighton, don't they?
well, they've had to go out of town. They've had to go out of the fucking city to find a
source.
rival because no one cared enough about Palace. And but my mate, who's a West Ham fan, he's has an irrational hatred of Palace. I go, how can you hate Palace? It's like weird thing to hate. And it all goes back to a bit once when he was working abroad. There was a Palace fan who said to him once, who said something. So there was something about someone getting some piss on them, and my mate said, "I don't want to get piss on me." Right? Similar situation, like public event where someone had pissed on me. You go, that's disgusting. And this Palace fan said to him, "Worried about a bit of piss? Didn't you go to football in the 80s?" Right? And my mate went, "Yeah, I did fucking go to football in the 80s, probably more than you." He went, I went, "For all those years, what's your point?" He went, you obviously didn't, because if you did, you'd know that in the 80s, everyone just threw pint glasses of piss at each other on the terraces.
You know all about the piss. It was constant piss.
And he went,
Piss City.
He went, "Well, throughout my childhood and teens, I went to Upton Park all the time." He went, and I can honestly say in all that time, standing on the terraces at West Ham, not only did I not once have piss thrown at me, I never once saw it thrown at anyone else. And he went, "Well, in that case, I just don't believe you that you ever went to football, because it was everywhere." And this antagonised my mate so much. By the way, this happened 20 years ago, this conversation. If we play Palace, if Palace come up in conversation, he goes, "Those fucking cunts, fucking pissy bastards. You know what that geezer said to me 20 years ago in fucking Singapore?" But I don't know,
Palace.
write in and tell us. I have never had piss thrown at me at football either, and I've never seen it thrown.
No.
And I've never even seen anyone pissing on the terrace. I used to stand on the North Bank at West Ham, which was a large, very crammed terrace back in those days. And it was true that if you needed a piss, it was a big undertaking. If you got yourself into the middle of the terrace for the game, and you were just a youngster, if you needed a piss during the game, it was a mission. You wouldn't be back until the second half, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
But all this stuff
You go to the
about
toilet
rolling
and do
up a
it.
programme and pissing on the floor, I never saw that, and I never saw any piss throwing either. I believe that is a Scouse thing. That's what people say. I do. I believe that's what happened on the cop. But even that might be untrue. I don't know. All I know is I've never seen it. Did it happen at Sunderland? What was the piss situation at Roker Park?
I think, well, I don't remember there ever being any piss at Roker Park. It's same as you. It was like, it used to go a lot, and if you need to piss, you go to the toilet. I never really saw anybody else. The place used to stink of fags and beer.
Yeah.
But it never stank of piss.
No, people just weren't
People
pissing.
will probably get
It's
in
a
touch and
myth.
say, "Well, I think you find it did."
Yeah,
I was there in 1979. And
It's a
stunk of
piss myth. It's a piss myth. Maybe
Yeah,
not all
football's piss
clubs.
myth.
Maybe not all clubs. But maybe at Palace there was a lot of piss being thrown about. I don't know. But
Maybe it's a
I've
Palace
been
thing.
to Palace lots of times. I've been to Palace away. I've been to Selhurst Park. I've never seen piss there. Never
I'd like
had
to
piss
see-
thrown at me there.
I'd like to see the BBC do a panorama special called Football's Piss Myth.
Yeah.
Looking
the truth.
back at this
Tonight,
era.
the truth about piss and football.
Yeah. I mean, Panorama generally reveal truths about things, but I'd like to see Panorama dispel something for once.
Yeah,
Namely,
why don't you dispel
the piss
it, because
myth
I'm sick of
football
it.
in the 80s.
And as for the Scousers listening, the legend is that there was something called hot leg on the cop, where you just feel someone's piss on your leg because they had just decided to piss you in game.
Yeah.
But I want that verified by a copite of yore, because I don't believe that's true either. I like to think it's not true.
The whole thing about the program, rolling up the program, they'd use as a funnel.
Yeah.
When do you read the program then?
Read it quickly as soon as you get there before you need a piss.
Really quickly, because you know you're going to piss into it really
Who has
soon.
ever read a program from cover to cover? Not me. Even when I'm bored off my mind. I mean, I haven't bought a program in years. But when I used to get a program, before they were like about 10 quid for a load of shit stock photography and really boring articles, right? But when, you know, back in the day, when you're a kid, you'd buy it and it'd be like 50p or whatever. And but you never, even if you were on a really long train journey on the way home, you'd never be able to fucking slug your way through a whole program, would you? All they were good for was pissing on, to be honest. Yeah,
that's what they sold them for.
Yeah, get your pissy program.
Look what I've got in my hand now. Look at that.
Sunderland AFC versus Leicester City. That's great. Who's that picture of on the cover?
That's Alan Durbin, who was our manager at the time. It's a cartoon of him.
That is wonderful. What year? What's the date on that then?
1983, 18th of December.
That's
Sunday,
a really
18th
good
of December.
program.
1983. Why was that on a Sunday? That was before the age of
Sunday football.
kickoffs on the telly. What's that about? So, I mean, I could do a deep
I
dive
do
into
like
this program
seeing
if
old
you want.
programs when there's like, you can go on websites and there'll be like old program design. There's some great cover design from back in the old days, but even that now, you don't see a good cover design anymore. It's just fucking...
Well, I mean,
anyway.
The adverts are the best things in these old documents, surely. The adverts are the things that are an indicator of what life was like back then. Hansa Lager. Did you have Hansa Lager
No, I don't think so.
in 1983? You could follow Sunderland to the Isle of Man, a football festival pre-season, which apparently we won the season before. The Isle of Man Football Festival were trying to retain the trophy, and you could fill a coupon in and get information about the special Sunderland package holiday details. Okay, now.
Sounds like quite a good summer trip, that, out to the Isle of Man to watch your club play. West Ham are playing in Florida this summer. I was quite tempted.
Yeah.
But it's too expensive.
Jalapeño.
Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you wouldn't be hearing this brief but annoying message if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that'll get right on your tits.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Jalapeño. Jalapeño.
Anyway, I cried this weekend as well because I went to a family
That's nice.
wedding. And all of us were there, all my brothers, my sisters, all of the nieces and nephews. And I fucking cried, real tears down my face on not once, but twice. Once as my brother, Terry Sledging Castellani, walked down the aisle. Well, it was an outdoor thing, so it wasn't actually an aisle. Walked across some grass with my niece, Madeline. And it was... I turned to my brother, Dom, and I said, look at him pretending to be a normal human. Because that's what you do on occasions like that. And it's really funny. If you see an old mate, or a like sibling doing something formal, it's extra funny.
Conforming with society's rules.
Yeah, exactly. He was standing waiting for her to come out of her of the bridal compound, right, to walk her down the aisle. And he was all dressed up in a suit with his hands behind his back. And I was like, look at him, his hands behind his back, pretending to be a human being for the benefit of all these other people. Clearly for the benefit of the groom's family, who he wanted to convince that we were normal humans.
Did you see his hands behind his back? Was that clasped the
they
Prince
were clasped
Charles
in
style?
a formal fashion while he
stylish.
patiently waited for his daughter to come
While
out.
he was waiting. Right,
But then when he walked down the aisle, I just fucking lost it, mate. I couldn't handle it at all. I couldn't even tell you why. There was, I was there at the hospital on the day she was born, right? Mm-hmm. And And yeah, I mean, it was fucking, and it's the first of any of me and my brothers, any of our children to get married. So I cried then. Then I cried during the speeches. She made a speech, my niece, Madeline. She made an excellent speech. Quite rare for a bride to make a speech. But she just got up and said, I think I'm going to make it because it's a bit boring when only blokes make the speeches.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I thought, that's good. And a few people cheered. And one of my other nieces, Daisy, was so...
a few people cheered. Did anyone boo?
Yeah, I think some men did boo. But some people cheered when she said that. And there was quite a lot of cheering from the girls. And one of my nieces shouted, yeah, kill them. And I said, whoa. Hang on a minute. Like, look, I'm right behind what Maddie said, and I'm right for equality. And I think, yes, I'd rather listen to the bride make a speech than a bunch of old cunts. But you're making me feel uncomfortable. No one said anything about.
Kill anyone.
I think we should rebalance society in many ways. Right? I think men have had it easy too long, but. No one said anything about
peacefully
just killing men. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's not a Taylor Swift gig.
That makes me feel uncomfortable. So she didn't say it again. She was respectful. But listen, this wedding, it was great. I cried during that speech. I can't even remember why, but I was crying. It was brilliant. But there was a lot. It was probably the best wedding I've ever been to. It reinstilled my faith in weddings, because nowadays, when you're in your 30s, you go to quite a lot of weddings, and now I'm like, I'm always thinking, I hope I don't get invited to a wedding, so fucking really long day, boring, having to wear uncomfortable clothes. This one was amazing. It was the best wedding I've ever been to. And in the evening, Andy, I'll just tell you, rather than bore you with all the details, I'll tell you one bit that I think you'll like. It was the classic first dance. Everyone stands around, watches them do their first dance, and then after a certain amount of time, it becomes uncomfortable and awkward, doesn't it? When you're one of the people doing the first dance, and so you wave your friends onto the dance floor, right, to join in. Everyone piled on dance. It was brilliant. Like pretty much everyone in the entire wedding, right? My mum's in the middle of it. Everything. It's brilliant. That's the first song. The music's great. My nephew Fred's DJing. He's doing an amazing job. 2-3 songs in, right? My tie's been loosened. My top button's undone. I've untucked my shirt. I'm lost. I'm lost in music, Andy.
Yeah.
My nephew Fred drops "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston, right? And I'm like, at this stage, I'm in a state of euphoria. I'm worried for my health, right? Yeah. Every single person I love is on the dance floor around me. I'm fucking dancing to "I Want to Dance with Somebody." Even terrace legend Castellani is there dancing his heart out, right? Yeah. And in the middle of all this, just something in life cannot get any more joyous than this. And just a little side note, try to bear in mind this is a half Geordie wedding, right? So there's all the Delaney's and a bunch of people from West London there, and then the other half Geordies, right?
The Geordies.
And suddenly, in the middle of this, and I'm thinking, life can't get better than this. I'm having the absolute time of my life. I want to feel the heat with somebody. I was even recalling dance moves, specific dance moves that Whitney used in that video, and I was recreating them, right?
You're pulling them off.
I could remember them. And I'm thinking, this is just best. If I die now, I'll die happy.
Were you crying?
Yeah, I think I was crying. Well, there was tears in my eyes at this point, not streaming. Yeah. And just something, this can't get any better. I get a tap on the shoulder, and there's waiting staff who've been there throughout the day, caterers. Mm-hmm. And there's a lovely young waitress who's come onto the dance floor. She's tapped me on the shoulder while I'm dancing to Whitney Houston, and she has a silver platter. And on that silver platter is an array of Greggs bags, right? That's right.
Geordie wedding.
The disco was catered by Greggs. Every Gregg product in individual Greggs bags, warm, fresh out of the oven, right? And she said, "Would you care for a Greggs?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "Would you care for a Greggs?" This is while I'm dancing to Whitney Houston. Yeah. And I went, "You got any veggie stuff?" She went, "Oh yeah. Pizza slices,
got the lot.
Vegan sausage rolls, anything you want." I took a fucking pizza slice. I completed the song whilst chomping on a fucking pizza slice. And at that stage, I thought I might die of happiness. It was amazing.
As good as it gets.
And it didn't stop there. Yeah. The Greggs were going on all night. At one point later on, my brother Dom came up to me and he went, "Do you want to see something funny?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Come in here." And there was a separate tent where the bar was. He went, "Come and look at Cass." And we went in, and Cass is the father of the bride. I'm assuming he chipped into all of this, right? So it's probably cost him a pretty penny, as Carlton Cole might say, right?
Yeah.
And he's the only one of the four of us brothers who still drinks. And we walked into the tent, and he was just sat there after a long, exhausting day. He'd made the speech, he'd walked down the aisle, and he was just sat there with a beer in one hand, chomping a fucking Greg's steak slice out of its bag in the other, just on his own, tie undone, on a stool, on his own in the middle of this wedding he's paid for, just staring into space with a grin on his face and a big passing, all the flaky crumbs over his mouth. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. So yeah, good wedding.
If only Martin Parr had been there.
Yeah, he would have had a field day. Especially he would have had a field day, especially when Auntie Di fell down the fucking hill. That would have been a fucking Martin. That would have gone for fucking $2,000.
Rubbing his hands together. Oh, pure dirt.
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah. There was stuff like that non-stop. Auntie Di, Geordie Auntie. I had a word of her straight away because she heckled incessantly throughout my speeches. Throughout the speeches, my brother's speech in particular. One of her best refrains throughout everything was, "It's Newcastle, not Newcastle." And this woman's like in her 60s, right? I've gone straight up to her afterwards and said, "Who are you?" She went, "Why do you want to know?" And I went, "Because I noticed that you were heckling throughout the speeches.
I am Britain's top journalist.
And I enjoyed it greatly." And she went, "Well, I just love heckling." And I said, "Do you?" And she went, "Yeah, I always have. I love it. Whenever I go anywhere and there's speeches, I will heckle. I love it. I think it's so much fun." And I went, "It is fun, and you were brilliant at it." I said, "I just want to say thank you. You were great." Yeah, I fucking love a heckle, man.
More people should do it.
Yeah. So she was good. Everyone was great. It was wonderful. So I'm exhausted from it. You know, obviously I didn't drink, but I was up till much later than my usual bedtime, dancing.
So this happened yesterday, Sunday?
No, Saturday night. Well, Saturday all day, and then the disco was on Saturday night, and then. Yeah, but it was out in the countryside where my brother lives now, in the Cotswolds, and then the next morning we got up and helped. It was all in a field, so we had to get up and tidy up the field the next day, and all that stuff. Right. And there was a lot of. In case
the farmer came.
It's more about. Also, it's like more about. I look back on weddings when we were younger, and it was like always me and my brothers, getting drunk or fighting or. Breaking up fights between an Elvis impersonator and Richard O'Brien from the Crystal Maze, right? And those were the great memories of our. But now
that was the era.
That was the era. That's what happened a lot for that sort then, of thing.
Yeah.
Fat Elvis and Richard O'Brien. But now,
see that happening now.
But now it's like all about your own kids when you go to a wedding. And it's all about. So my kids were dancing all night with all of their cousins. And it's better, you sit back, you don't drink, you're feeling delighted, and you just watch all my nephews and nieces, and my kids, and they're all just fucking going mental, having like the best time. And you just sit there with your Gregs and fucking drink it in. You drink it in.
So we've had fairly similar experiences then, haven't we, over the weekend? I've gone to the Taylor Swift gig, which is full of youngsters.
Yeah.
Just having the absolute time of their lives and screaming their heads off and this kind of thing. And you've gone to that wedding and you've watched the next generation having loads of fun on the dance floor and just living their best lives. It's no wonder we've both been crying.
You know what I'm thinking, mate? You know what I'm thinking? Time to die. Well,
our work here is done.
We've seen it. We've passed the baton on. These kids are all having a lovely time. Yeah. They're full of joy, and that's it. And we can, now we can shut our bodies down.
Like E.T. when his life source runs out and he turns all fucking shrinkly and crusty and all that. Well, it's time for us to become that. And
I'm just gonna
shuffle off.
Send me back to the ground.
Yeah, that's
send me to the earth.
But this crying thing, I think there's a lot more of that coming. I've spoken to other men of our age and it seems to be something that is more prevalent when you get towards your 50s.
It's lovely.
You just cry at anything.
Well, it's really good. I believe it's really healthy. I think.
Oh, I've got no problem with it. Yeah, I'm embracing it.
We're all fucking men. We're all uptight. We keep so much inside, and sometimes you cry and you feel wonderful afterwards. And and that's how I felt at the weekends. You know, crying's good. Give it a go. Give it a good go.
I think the Top Flight Time Machine retreat weekends where we all go into a forest and scream and cry
and bang drums,
48 hours non-stop.
Bang drums
and bang drums and stuff and do bark rubbing. That's on its way.
It's
surely.
Definitely on its way.
Next step for us.
Yeah.
If we don't get this YouTube thing renewed, anyway,
we're going to have to start selling retreats.
Got to pay for gig tickets somehow.
I was telling, I had to drive my dad back, which was obviously worrying, but it went off all right. And I was telling him yesterday, I said he was asking me about the magazine industry, and I said most magazines just died. I said, but the ones that are still thriving and doing better than ever are the ones who diversified into doing more than just printing a mag, and the mag's just one part of it. And I was like, all these mags, whether it's like the New Scientist or Spectator or New Statesman, The Economist, they just do fucking non-stop events, weekends away, talks, all of this shit. They're the ones who are fucking thriving, right? New Scientist, which I occasionally get because my son is really into like space and whatnot. Fucking hell, mate, you should see some of the trips they do. It's amazing. They'll just fucking... you go away with a load of other people who are well into science. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm in science. I'm interested in it, but I'm ignorant of it. You know, I was never a scientist. I don't know anything, really. But I find it interesting. And you go away with other people who are interested. They'll take you around some fucking... Right, we're all going to Spain for a weekend and we're going to look at fucking craters where meteors hit the fucking desert 1 billion years ago. And that's becoming appealing to me. I mean, the only thing that would stop me is I'd be well out of my depth, because you imagine the other people who go on this would be clever.
But
I feel like ringing up and saying, is there places on this for thick people?
Yeah, but the thing about you is you wouldn't be shy about asking questions.
That's true, yeah.
To the
so
point
I might
of
learn.
Almost being intensely annoying.
Could ruin it for people, yeah.
The other travellers, but yeah, go for it.
Excuse me, how big is space? Is it bigger than Croydon? Is it like Croydon but in the sky?
Is the moon flat or has it got a back bit we never see?
If the moon made a change, what change do you reckon
it
is? Please be quiet.
How long do you think you can put your hand on the sun for before it hurts?
Yeah. Remember that bit in Star Trek where there was an alien and she was great, but she was really fit, and you're sort of thinking, she's great, but she's that fit, it almost sort of cancels out the being green, doesn't it? I think Captain Kirk got off with her. Yes, what's your question? I don't know, really. Are there sexy aliens, I suppose?
I just thought that if I was like snugging her and that, would she have like a lizard tongue or something that would come out and maybe suffocate me? I don't know.
The next thing you know, it's a trick. The tongue's gone right down my throat into my guts, and she's like harvesting all my organs with her tongue. But in a way, I wouldn't care because she's that fit. What a way to go. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think one day that our skin will become like see-through so we can see our guts?
That's what they've got to prepare for if I go on any of these science trips.
Yeah. Could happen. I tell you what, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this one.
Lovely.
We came in it with no agenda.
Title,
nothing planned.
Crying.
We just had a nice chat. We've done some crying and we've decided it's time to die.
Yeah.
So there we
Die.
are.
Maybe that should be the title of the episode.
Time to die? Question mark. Let's hope neither of us does die in the next week or so, because it's going to look really...
be a rich irony.
Bad.
A rich irony.
Yeah, wouldn't it just? Yeah. And also an immediate stoppage of income.
I said to my dad, like yesterday, I was like, so nice out in the Cotswolds, isn't it? And he goes, yeah, it's really nice. And he said, maybe if I sold my flat, I could come and live out here. And I went, yeah, that'd be nice. I said, you could live near your sister. He's got a sister who lives in the Cotswolds. And he went, what? I said, you live near your sister. And he went, huh, yeah. That'd just be a fucking race to see who dies first. And I was like, all right then.
Well,
for 1 minute, I thought we were going to have a nice chat where you were like fantasising
almost
about living in the countryside, which I think would be a lovely thing to do in your dotage. But very quickly, he came out with that one. So I thought, well, that's the end of that conversation.
Had a tender moment there, but it was brought back down to earth with a bump.
Yeah.
As always. All right, then. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. If you haven't, don't worry about it, because we enjoyed it, and that's the main thing. Thanks very much for listening, and that's that.
That's that.